Hey, what's up? This is Ben from WODprep, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to learn strict pull-ups like this using bands. So if you use a band properly, like I'm going to teach you in this video, you can utilize these bands, develop strength, and eventually be able to do a completely RX'd strict pull-up, full range of motion without any assistance at all, because the bands can help you develop that strength. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to use the bands properly so that you can keep getting stronger and eventually, again, be able to do this without any assistance, because that's the goal. Because once we are able to do pull-ups, then we're going to be able to move on to more advanced movements like potentially kipping pull-ups or even muscle-ups and all kinds of stuff once we have that proper upper body strength. So with that being said, let's talk about how to use the bands to start. So this is great for beginners. One thing to note is the thicker the band, the more resistance it's going to give you, or actually the more uplift it's going to give you. So if I use a band that's big, thick, and very hard to stretch, it's going to really help me finish my pull-up. If I use a smaller band like this one right here, then it's not going to assist nearly as much, so it's going to be a lot harder for me to complete the full range of motion. That's what's so cool about bands, is that we can interchange them to help us get the exact stimulus that we need. So with that, let's show you a couple different ways that you can hang the band from a pull-up bar. You can do it a couple different ways, and for the demonstration, I'm going to use this nice medium band here. So you can do it a couple different ways. The simplest way is to just throw it over the pull-up bar, and then you're looping it in itself. Then what you do is you take your foot, put it inside the band, and now when the band is around my foot, I can do band-assisted strict pull-ups, okay? So that's a simple way to wrap it around. And another thing that you can do is you can always stack bands. So let's say this band wasn't quite heavy enough. I can add a little bit more help by wrapping another band and stepping into two of them, okay? So that's what's cool about bands, is you can interchange them. You can use different combinations to create the exact stimulus that you need to be able to do the full range of motion. And we're going to talk a little bit about what does full range of motion mean and how many reps and sets you should do later in this video. So another great way to use a band is if you have a squat rack with J hooks or some sort of pin or something like that, you can take the band and stretch it across and then simply stand on top of the band to do pull-ups. So I'm just standing on top of the band, hop up to the bar, and now I can do full range of motion pull-ups while getting assistance from the band. This is infinitely scalable, just like the other version. I could take another band, put it around the J-hooks. I could also, if you want more assistance, I could raise where the band is anchored. Let's say I raise it up to here. Now it's going to give me even more lift because I'm stretching the band farther. So this is infinitely scalable. This is another great way to hang the band if you want to make sure that you're keeping a solid hollow body position. And I think this is potentially a little easier to set up, and it's less band interference with your face and chest and everything like that. So now that we've talked about different versions of banded pull-ups, I want to talk about how to make sure that we're using the bands effectively. So first and foremost, when we do banded pull-ups, we want to make sure that we have full range of motion. And just because I think most people are going to be doing it like this, I will demonstrate like this. Full range of motion means that I'm starting with my hands and arms all the way locked out. So I'm all the way locked out with my elbows, and then I'm getting my chin all the way above the bar with my head neutral. I'm not going like this. I'm not going halfway up or almost all the way up and then stretching my chin above the bar. Instead, what I want to do is, when we're using a band, I want to make sure that I practice full range of motion. So that means in between every rep, I'm going to full arm extension. And then to finish the rep, I'm making sure that I get my chin very much above the bar. You can even take this a step farther if you want to develop more range of motion, strength. You can do banded chest to bar pull-ups. So from here, I can pull myself all the way up to the bar and see if I can get the pull-up bar all the way to my chest. That's a great way to develop strength in a wider range of motion. So once you've found the right band combination for you to do, let's say, 5 pull-ups, So 5 unbroken banded pull-ups. I want you to essentially barely be able to complete that 5th rep, or you might be able to do 6 or 7. You can do something like 5 sets of 5 repetitions using this band. Okay, let's say you do that 2 times the first week. So on Tuesday, you do 5 sets of 5 with maybe a couple minutes rest in between each set, and then you do that again on Friday. What I could do the week after is I want to make sure that I'm making the pull-ups slightly harder. So that could mean increasing by a couple reps. So maybe instead of 5 sets of 5 repetitions, you could do 5 sets of 6 repetitions. Or we can make the band harder by moving to a lighter band. Or again, if you're using this kind of J-hook anchor position, which is why I like it so much, it's scalable. Let's say I did 5 sets of 5 with the band at this particular height. What I could do the next week is I could move it down 1 notch. Okay, I think, did I move that down 1 notch? I don't even know. I could move it down 1 notch on each side, and what that's going to do is, it's just going to give me a little bit less band tension. So that's why I really like this particular technique, is because as I lower the anchor point, the assistance becomes less and less and less. And obviously, if you need more assistance, I can raise the anchor point and do a thicker band or add multiple bands. So the bottom line is that to avoid plateaus, we're trying to use progressive overload, meaning each week we're making it a little bit harder to do by either adding weight, which would mean reducing band tension in this case, or we can add a rep or 2. Ideally, that sweet spot for developing strength, I think, is between 3 to 8 reps. If you stay within that window, it's a great way for you to develop raw strength. If you're not able to get 3 reps, or let's say you're able to get 10, 15 plus reps, you probably need to adjust your band height or your band tension or your band thickness to make sure that you're falling within that sweet spot. As each week goes by, let's say we move to week 3. Again, we can reduce the anchor point. I can use a thinner band, or I can add a rep or 2 to each set. As you continue to do that, not only will we be getting stronger, but hopefully we're going to be able to slowly wean ourselves off the band. So maybe 5 weeks down the road, 6 weeks down the road, you can now switch to something like the red band. And then once you have the red band, maybe you can find an even smaller band. The idea is that we're always making progress. We're not staying in the same place. I see a lot of times people will get stuck on this big, thick band, and that's all they use every single time, and it makes their pull-ups easy, and that's it. They're done. But if we're not constantly trying to either add a few reps or reduce the weight of the band, that is not going to help us get a strict pull-up eventually. So with that being said, we've talked about how to use bands to get the proper stimulus. Remember, we want to hit that sweet spot somewhere between 3 and 8 reps. We've talked about different ways to anchor the band so that it's going to help you get set up and make sure that you have the right tension, again, to get that stimulus. And then we've talked about progressive overload, how as you practice 2 to 3 times per week, we can slowly add some reps, reduce the band tension, which is essentially like adding weight. If you were thinking about it from like a lifting perspective, it's like you're adding a little bit of weight each week. Well, here we're reducing the band tension a little bit each week. And then we've also talked about how you need to make sure you're using full range of motion. If you find yourself not getting full range of motion, it might be time to scale back a little bit, either raise where that J-hook is anchored or add a little thickness to that band. We want to make sure that regardless, we're always keeping that nice full range of motion, and bonus points if you can get the bar all the way to your chest. If you do those things, I promise you, you will take these bands, you will be developing your raw pull-up strength, and eventually you will be able to do pull-ups completely without a band. If you'd like additional training to learn how to get a strict pull-up, I actually have a completely free training guide that I'd love to send you. It's at WODprep.com/pullups. You can type it in your browser, or you can click the link below this video. If you're someone who's serious about learning strict pull-ups, I have a full training guide. It's basically an entire online school about how to get your first pull-up. It's called Strict Pull-Up Strength. And if you go buy that, it's actually backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. That means if you buy the course and you don't achieve a strict pull-up, you can get every single penny back. That is a lifetime guarantee. It works. So if you want more information on my guaranteed strict pull-up training program, you can also check out the links below. So you have two options. You have some free training, which is a little bit more of this video, or you have really in-depth programming and training. It's like an online school on how to do a pull-up that I guarantee or your money back. So your choice, which one you want to choose. If you like this video, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you thought it was trash, and make sure you smash the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any more beginner video content like this. And with that, I will see you in the next video.
What are you, a salmon trying to swim upstream? This isn't a pull-up, but you're on a pull-up. I'm doing kipping pull-ups. I know they're not strict pull-ups, they're kipping pull-ups.